lifting. The first thing you have to do is start focusing on being consistent. Because if you're not going to be consistent, there is no need to start attempting working out. Now, today is day 3, part 2 of building muscles. Now, the thing that I see most people in our stories who are taking our polls, the problem that they're dealing with the most is not the fact that they don't know what to do. They just can't stay consistent doing it. And when they do, what you find is people are not fueling their bodies back right because they are distracted. And therefore, we have a bigger problem facing us that we have to address, that dragon in the room. And that is being distracted, having a process. And that's how you get to a place where you're performing at a much higher level. I use the word performer because people who are in leadership roles have to focus on this. They have to be that guy, even when they don't want to show up. And therefore, we got to make sure that you got the proper information to build the necessary muscle. But when you build that muscle, upper body, lower body, hamstrings, quadriceps, calves, you have to also understand exactly what it's going to take to fuel that thing. So yesterday we dove directly into the meals, and I told you a backstory about when I started the meal planning and creating the kind of, because I was working with people. Let me give you a little context. I was working directly with people who weren't actually athletes as well. Most of them were running companies, and everybody needed a meal plan, because what I did find that when I was in the personal training field, that most people, once they left the gym, they got back to their old habits. I'm sure that you can attest to this because it's probably you. So what I needed to do is to step into a different role, which is the nutrition role, which is why I went and got certified in nutrition, because I did understand when there are people who are responsible enough to actually take on a physical training program, that the only thing they'll need is the blueprint to eat the right foods. And the second thing that I found in our polls, because the only way you find out what people actually need is to take a poll. Unless they live next door to you, you will not get the answer. And I'm going to challenge each of you who are in leadership roles for your company to make sure you do polls, because it might not seem sexy right now, but you're going to learn about the people who are following you or working for you. And that will give you a more clear perspective on what is needed. So when we talk about what we put into our bodies, we said that the number one thing that people were lacking was what putting foods into their bodies that help you and keep the testosterone levels present. All right. And then we said you were not taking in enough protein, and definitely not getting enough iron. And the magnesium needs to be supplemented because you're not getting it. So I put together a meal plan for my people. So there were athletes and there were people who are much older, and then there were the guys in the middle. All right. So what I needed to do is not find out. I had to assess if they are serious, because I'm not going to spend days creating a program for them to eat. Because one thing that you have to realize about people is everybody has a different DNA. They process foods different. So you have to have an assessment period of time as well. You have to really document, get them to document what is it that you're eating. Let me see that. So one of the things they'd have to do is I'd get them to write down on a paper, basic paper. You don't have to go buy something to have a piece of paper near. And I'd have them document for 1 week and then fillers for the next week. Basically, if anything changed, right? That's where we come into what we call little techniques that help us stay consistent with what we're doing. And you know what I found out? Whenever you take the time to do things that help you simplify your life, like wear a black shirt every single day, eat the exact same thing every single day. We call that process and this method, this is called compensatory control. And it literally lets you feel how it feels to have the stuff that isn't really that important, have that shoved to the back of your brain. You don't even have to think about it because you know what it is. And guess what happens to your mind? It starts to open up space in your mind so that you can now think about the things that help you get here. And that's where people like myself, our focus is working with people who are in leadership roles. They're coaches, they're company owners, CEOs of companies, people who are actually in front of, like I said, mayors and senators. That's who we work with. And what we're trying to do right now is to make sure that we show you guys the exact blueprint. So if you give me another 4 or 5 minutes, then we'll break it down and you can have an action step. So hopefully you got good patience for receiving good information, because now we're going to break it down. So thanks for taking the time to want to improve your game a little bit. So once we created the meal plan and we got the data, and I knew that these people would be responsible, we started to implement it. Now we had to make sure that they understand the ratio to put the food in. All right, to supplement the muscle training that we're going to do, because we're going to get into muscle training, what to do, how to make sure you don't miss a day, and how to feed it is what we're going to do first, because it's important that you don't allow yourself to even have a workout plan if you don't understand how you're going to fuel it. So what we did is make sure they have enough protein and enough fat. All right, the carbs, hey, we won't need as much because we're going to go high in fat. And what that does is allows the body to get fed off of the fat. And so your muscle leniency goes up. Like I said in the comments, in the description, 15% with these 3 workouts that you're going to do a week. Because right now what you're doing is what we call priming the body for what's to come and preparing the mind so that it can lead, because wherever the mind will go, the body will follow. So now you got the plan. Now you got to take the time and look at how am I going to go into this workout? So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that you understand movement with calisthenics, right? I know there are people, you're dropping comments and stuff. So I'll take 30 seconds and I'll take a look at it. Make sure you take time and ask questions down in the comments. Like, hey, how's it going? Capybara. I know I'm botching that name, but it's a pleasure to meet you too, Dominator. And I'm in the house. Yes, you are, Luke. Luke, I think that's your name. So, like I said, now we're gonna break it down to how I built over 40 different athletes that were professional boxers that reached the championship level and world championship level in training camps under the tutelage of my coach, 2004 Olympic coach, and under his coach as well. Because when we start to do this cycle, you start to have to help with what you know in training camps like that. So there were guys like Klitschko, there were guys like Pacquiao, all of these different kind of top fighters, Ray Mercer's, people who were at the top of the food chain. Camacho, special shouts out to Camacho Jr. I know he got an upcoming bout too, and I know he's watching over there on LinkedIn, where all of you boxers should be. You should be learning how to go over to LinkedIn and build up a community of people that will promote, manage, and support and sponsor you. That was just a little pro tip. So special shouts out to my man. So what I would have to do, and this was early on in my training career, I was over a decade in, but the reality is I spoke to the other day that you just don't work with world-class athletes without understanding the science. And next week, we're going to have a sports performance doctor on the feed. And it's going to be a great, insightful uh, dive into learning about peptides and things that are really the other supportive nature of building the optimal human being, which is what we're focusing on. Our concentration is building the ultimate athletes. And so when I got the opportunity to work with Marion, work in the camp with Coach Trevor Graham, who had Marion Jones, Justin Gatlin, Mickey Barber, and they were twins, Mickey and Nikki Barber, and Sean Crawford. All of those were gold medalists. And then Ray Mercer, who was a gold medal Olympian, gold medalist in heavyweight boxing, and a world champion, had fight of the years against Holyfield and Lennox Lewis. Need not say more. All right. When you're around people like that, and this is the area you're working in, what you have to think about is, what are you going to do to not screw things up? So we start at the basics. So anytime any one of you are working with people and you're really lost and you're not sure and you don't have the confidence, because that will happen. If they stop progressing, you get a little nervous. If they don't get any real benefits out of the gate because they came to you already pretty much in doubt, then you're going to feel you're going to feel some type of way. So here's how you go back through this process: is basically start back from ground zero. And we start off with, first we do what we call max PT or PT warm up and make sure that everything is ready. Then, and that's talking access point stuff, ligaments, tendons, on top of your access points. Access points, for those of you who are not clear and don't know what an access point is, the access point is anywhere on the body where there's a digit that bends. Okay. It's your pivot point. All right. So that's your access point. You have your shoulder, elbows, wrists, fingers, knees, hips, ankles. These are areas that we call access points. You have to build on top of those things, right? So from there, you got the ligaments and tendons. And so these warm-ups that we do is PT warm-up to open them up and getting blood circulating through them. Once you get through there, now it's time to get to the stuff. Now that you got the body prepared, you spent at least 9 to 12 minutes doing this, getting optimal blood flow. This is where it comes into play, how you build a human being to be the absolute optimal athlete as possible, even if you don't compete in athletics. Number one, calisthenics. So I take this book, and what I said is we're going to start off here with our cardio development, right? And the only reason you're going to do that is because once you get into the actual 6-day program, you're going to reverse what you start off with. So first, you're going to open it up with doing jumping jacks. Why would you do something that has a full range of motion first? Exactly. After you did your warm-ups in your PT warm-up, then you want to get the cardio going and making sure that the body is ready to receive what you do without injury. Because what I made sure of in the Eric Bradley method is that you're going to experience minimal any ill effects because of our preparation. It's called prehabilitation, which was one of the terms that I took directly from another mentor who actually was strength and conditioning coach for the Baltimore Ravens and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, secured 2 Super Bowl rings with his training methods with guys like Warren Sapp and George Lynch and all of these different killers that were out there playing ball in that period of time. Ray Lewis. Some of you know Ray Lewis. See, the minute that I got to meet Mark Asanovich, you can Google these people's name. He introduced me to this world that was where I was, I just didn't have access to the tools. So he gave me the entire strength and conditioning program for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Baltimore Ravens. I still got it. It was probably about 3,000 pages in text, and just the reality. So I consumed, and I got it on a disc. And I want you guys to know, when I give you the information, I mean, it's already been tested. It's worthy of championships in boxing. We've used it over in the UFC. Special shouts out to Daya Davis, head coach of Dustin Poirier. We don't mess around. And obviously, it's responsible for the framework of 3 Super Bowls. There's that. So you don't have to worry about, has it been tested? Because you will have the right recipe to do what you need to do if you follow it. So once we do our 4, the recipe is 4, 6, 8, and then back to 5. I mean, 4, 6, 8, 4. And then we get to the PTL. And this is a process, a system. It's not just, oh, do 10 push-ups, do 20 squats. It's not that. This is science. This is systematic. Okay. So when we break it down, we got into our strength components. And now you're building muscle into a body that's actually ready to receive what you have to give it. This is where you build dense, sturdy, elastic muscle that is what we call active muscle, because it was not restricted. It wasn't developed under linear movement. You had all of the different radiations, or the radius. You had the radius of 360 degrees, the circumference of 180 degrees. Then you pressed in linear motion, not movement. The motion is because we make sure that we're conscious of implementing movement and rotation in all of our sockets. This isn't hard. It's super simple to do it right, and you'll start seeing your body. That's why I'm almost 56 years old, and damn it, I still look tremendous. I'm just saying, imagine what you'll look like, period, point blank, if you just focused. How much of a better leader would you be? How much of a better person would you be? So this program, this is all about I'm speaking to the people who they go out to train themselves to reach their peak. But just like in boxing, when I say there are levels in boxing and there are 4 phases to boxing, that's why you're not getting it right. That's why you're getting hit. That's why you're coming up short. That's why you don't understand how to make adjustment, because you're not looking at the entire scope of the sport, right? So I make sure that I give you the entire scope. That's why we created Top Trainer, so that you could actually develop fully. You're going to reach your peak, but there are 12 peaks to the human body. And that's what I designed the program for, right? This was the rudimentary 4-week program. It's 3 weeks of the training, and it's 1 week of the recovery focus, because no one is concentrating on focus and the recovery. And that's where you reach all of 12 of these peaks when you go through these phases. So today I'm going to challenge anyone who's willing to take the challenge to say, okay, what I did is made sure that you understood how to fuel your body and how to make sure you're getting enough protein. Protein is what? Understanding if I'm 180 pounds, I got to at least put in 90 grams of protein a day, because that's ounces. You want it to break down to half of your body weight into grams, right? Your focus is not to go out here thinking that I can work out and it's just going to compensate. I can work out and I'm just going to go to McDonald's. I can work out. Chick-fil-A looks good because now you're putting chemicals in your body and you won't feel it immediately because I didn't. And what happens is you start to feel it come and play the role later. Fatigue starts to settle in. You can't figure out why you're not gaining energy levels. You're not optimized. And that's the problem. So what we're going to do right here is steer you clear of those situations. And we're going to make sure that you get this thing the right way. So hopefully what you're doing is receiving this and understanding why you hit your plateaus. You don't hit your plateau in a 12 peaks system because it literally breaks all of the barriers as you're going. It's your normal. So barriers can't impede on it unless you stop doing it. And then I'm going to be in your ear so much you can't stop because you can't listen to me and not get motivated. So you're going to not be out of the zone for long. Trust what I'm saying. This is 3 decades of just doing this with people, almost 4. So now you're fueling it, because if you don't, I'm going to tell you the repercussion. Then I'm going to let you guys go. If you don't, you're going to interfere with the body's natural process of developing and repairing the muscle, and that's called muscle protein synthesis. And if you disturb the body's natural ability to repair, you won't sleep good, you will be moody, and you will see yourself hit the plateau. And not only that, you'll start to decline. Your muscles will gain that what we call flaccid look, meaning it doesn't look pumped anymore. And when you pump, you have what we call hyperemia. That's the infusion in that surge of blood. When you hit those biceps, those shoulders, those legs, those quads and calves, you feel like that dude when your chest is pumped. That's hyperemia. And if you start disturbing the natural abilities and benefits, then you won't receive the most benefits. You got to not focus on reaching your peak. You have to focus literally on reaching all 12 peaks simultaneously. So today was day 3 of this week, but part 2 of developing your body and reaching your full potential with your muscles, but your mind, and preventing things that could impede any of that by knowing how to eat to prevent any diseases from taking over your body. So we prepared for each and every one of you something that you can take away today. We got a nice 2-day meal plan. Remember the phrase that I said at the beginning. You got to simplify your life and stop trying to do too many different things. All of these meal plans with all of these different meals that you're not going to prepare. How many times did you blow the meal plan, the nutrition plan, because it was too many different things? You didn't have half of the stuff in the refrigerator. The term that I want you guys to get familiar with consistently is compensatory control, and that's simplifying your life. Eat the exact same thing every single day, the exact same way, the exact same time. Knowing what you're going to wear, black t-shirt guy, every single day, the exact same way. I'm freeing up my mind. People who operate like that get all the way to the peak every time because they simplify their life. So the more important things are front and center at all times. So today, that concludes our conversation. If any of you guys want to use that, I prepared a sample pack of the meals that will help you boost that testosterone level and your protein levels, and only just to make sure you're fueling right. The second part of that is the physical training. All right. There's a physical training. We created a sample just for you guys to use. If you use it or not, that's on you. But when you're dealing with people who've reached the levels that I've had the opportunity to reach, we know how to find those who are not really serious. So when I see that there's an opportunity to help you, I'm going to help. So we went through the trouble of doing it, and it takes time, it takes work, it takes consciousness. So if you want to try it, make sure that you message your email address to the page, or you just comment the word muscles down below, and someone will reach out and give you the PDF. It's a sample, and it's, if you're really not where you want to be, this is how you open something and look at it and say, okay, now what is going to be in your way is the question. Because the number one poll that we've taken, that what bothers people most about themselves is distractions. Let's see what you got. Tomorrow, you guys will get a live stream, and it'll be pre-recorded. So hopefully you'll take the time to tune in. 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Set your clocks and like the post if you got an opportunity to watch it till the end. Let us know and let the algorithm know that this is the kind of knowledge you like. And that's all I got for right now. Save this video for later to refer back to. And like always, continue to follow for more and type muscles if you want to try that sample workout and meal plan. Remember, it's 2 days, so you're not confused and you're getting everything that will help you reach your highest good. For those of you who've left messages, of which I see a lot of messages here, I'm gonna pop them up just so you know that I am really looking at them. I see them up there. I will come back and we will respond to each and every one of you. And like I always, I'll see you tomorrow. Keep it popping. Coach Bradley, I'm out. Peace.